there is one exhortation that I would want to leave with every believer reading this book, it would be this: do not be afraid. What I have written here may be alarming to some. It suggests and indeed confirms that the world is moving at high speed towards the conclusion prophesied in Scripture. But as our global environment becomes more and more turbulent, it is imperative that believers do not give way to anxiety and live out of a centre of fear. As the Bible puts it, we are not to be afraid, even though the earth gives way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. We are told that nothing can separate us from the love of Christ, that trouble, famine, hardship, government or sword cannot harm, and that even death itself has lost its sting. If we are to accept and alert others to the signs of the times, it is essential that we live in the deep revelation that God is our refuge and fortress, an ever-present help in times of trouble, and that we therefore have absolutely nothing to fear. This goes beyond head knowledge and must enter the realm of the heart. It comes from experiencing the profound personal relationship we have with the Father through his Son, Jesus Christ. As Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." John 14:27. It is from this experience of God's reassuring and enfolding love that we should look at the events concerning the end times. We must not look on global circumstances from a default setting of fear or foreboding. On the contrary, we should observe them with a certain joy and eager anticipation as we come to realize that these events are the gateway to one of the greatest events prophesied in Scripture, the glorious second coming and return of the Messiah, the King of Kings, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. This prospect is one that should bring enormous comfort to every believer's heart, for as the Apostle John wrote, "In that day God will wipe away every tear from our eyes." In that day there will be no more death, sorrow, or crying, and no more pain. Revelation 21:4. In that day we will be invited to live in a city without death. Let's look again at Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. There is a river, whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God shall help her, just at the break of dawn. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Here the psalmist writes, "We shall not fear, even though mighty earthquakes strike, resulting in mountains falling into the seas. We will not fear. Even though tsunamis break upon shores and cities, altering the coastline forever, we will not fear. Even though nations may rise up against nations to destroy each other with devastating cruelty, we will not fear." Why will we not fear? We will not be afraid because, as the psalmist says, God is our refuge. He is a very present help. Our God is with us. Think about that for a moment. Though every edifice on the planet may be shaken and fall, God's fortress will never so much as tremble, and certainly will never collapse. God's fortress is mighty, sturdy, permanent, fixed, and safe. And it is into that high tower, that holy refuge, that believers are called to run. Oh, that we would have a revelation of that wonderful truth, that not only God dwells in this refuge and fortress, we are invited to dwell there too. The heroes of faith knew this. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood before King Nebuchadnezzar after they had refused to bow to the king's image, they boldly proclaimed on hearing of their certain death by fire, "The God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Daniel 3:17-18. These 3 Hebrew men hid in the fortress of their God and said, "We will not fear."